Hello, people. It's peoples. Yeah, the peoples are listening. I'm Dan Alborn. She's Jackie Conkle, and you have just checked into the Appleton REIA podcast. This is a podcast dedicated not necessarily specifically for real estate investing, but if you are one, it's going to help you a ton. We'll give you a lot of life lessons, tips, tricks, techniques that can help you. You don't want to tick?
Nope.
Yeah, especially in December, you shouldn't have too many of those. But nonetheless, guys, we're just here to help educate you and empower you to become better human beings and ultimately using the vehicle of real estate investing to achieve your life goals. Yeah, that's a dog. It's okay. This is 2020, Jackie.
We record at home.
That's
this
right.
COVID, baby.
This is COVID.
Dogs bark, kids cry. Mom walks into your video. That happened to me today.
Honestly, the dog is perfect to go into our topic today because what we're going to discuss is what we've learned from 2020.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, it is December, the end of a year that we all wish will probably just go away. But, you know, I was just talking today, and actually I recorded a video for our group of students and real estate professionals about that how 2020 has just really disrupted our routine in life.
It has. That's about it.
And I think, well, that's probably the easy way of saying it. But whenever, you know, we're creatures of habit. And whenever our routine is changed or altered, and it's not because of our own doing, it can throw our life in just to a hot mess.
People don't like change.
Well, yeah, you got to figure sporting events have been either canceled or limited.
Yeah.
Kids are being at home instead of going to school. So, I mean, these are all things that everyone's familiar with. Your routines that you're normally doing as of this time last year have changed almost 180 degrees completely. So you can allow that to really limit you because you're being driven by fear and confusion. Or you can use it to refocus your activities and do things positively. So what we're going to talk about today is what we've learned as we've kind of taken inventory in our own lives and our own businesses. What have been our aha moments in 2020? And heck, I challenge you, if you're listening, do this in your own life. It could be probably impactful. So I'd say for me, this has been an interesting year for me personally and professionally. My business has transitioned right pre-COVID, where COVID kind of, launched into the stratosphere in March. I ended up doing a unique thing with my business and really joining partnership with another local investor where we've actually built out a very cool, solid entity. And it was interesting because we did this right before it all hit. And we're like, well, we just started this. Do we want to continue? Or we're just going to be like, maybe now's not the time. We're like, you know what? We're forging ahead.
Yeah.
But I think my first bullet point that I would share is it's the importance of having the right players and people in your life.
It's so important.
And I think with this transition that I've made, we really were smart in how we found our strengths and what we're very good at and focusing in the right lanes. So we're not being so widespread. And I know if you're a newer investor, this may not be where you're at. But you can even take this into a personal level. Do you have the right people surrounding you?
Yeah.
Right? Having the right people in position who you can go to, share information with. I mean, and not to get too sappy, but I mean, I think that's where our relationship, Jackie, works well. Because we've always respected each other and we've been able to bounce things off each other and we're open.
Personal and business.
Yeah, personal and business. And that we can really just be open and honest. And having those type of relationships, I mean, these are the relationships I want more in my life, to have more Jackie and Brett's in my life. And I've found that through this year. And then if you don't have those people who are breaking you down and beating you down and not supportive of the things you want to do, you may need to limit yourself. And we've talked to that to some point. But I think that was my importance of just specifically in a year where it's been craziness, you need to have solid rocks in your life that you can go to and lean on and trust in just challenging times. Because you need to kind of stay focused on the end goal. And that's why having the right players on your team or the right people in your life is so important. So that's my first aha or my takeaway from 2020. What say you, Jackie?
I would say my first one of my COVID year.
Yes.
It's really just, as you watched social media, as all the riots are happening and all the political back and forth and the different thoughts on COVID, fill in the blank, right?
Yeah, right.
You saw a lot of polarizing. You saw a country divided and, I really realized that and none of us really have the power to just put out our opinion and change someone else's mind, because everybody's very opinionated in the way they are, and it's deeper rooted than just like one article or one post or one fact or one falsity for that matter.
Right.
Fake news. But I realize that I really just need to come alongside people and figure out what is it that they need. How can I serve them and make it a win-win, that it's not going against my integrity, my ethics, my values, goals, or vision, and also not against theirs. Like, there's always some common ground we have with each person, whether
100%.
it's personal or business, but especially this year in business.
Right.
Maybe don't bring up the politics, because if you're on the opposite side, now you can't even do business together. So finding where you have those similarities, coming alongside people, and again, especially this year, a lot of people were really hurting, and going at things without any self-serving ambition at all. How can I come alongside and serve you, whether something comes of it down the road to benefit me or it doesn't? It's going to benefit me in my human side of things, where I get to grow as a person and be more of a good human, which is kind of funny, because that's how you kind of started this whole thing, right? It's maybe real estate, it might just be being a good human. And I think 2020, in my, hindsight is 2020. In the hindsight of this year, I think I've really, my eyes have been more opened to that, is how do I just come alongside people and serve them without compromising my own values, beliefs, and my whole system. Or theirs.
I love it. I mean, the serve first idea and concept is nothing new, but it became, and I would agree with you, it's something
amplified.
for sure. Because like Jackie said, more people are hurting now. The world's different than it was 12 months ago. So we're in a different sphere of things, but I love that idea, Jackie. That's a good one.
And some of those Facebook posts that you've seen your friends or so-called friends posting, it's just like, you just want to yell, like, why would you even put that out there? It just starts a chaos, and that's not the place you want to
and I think,
start
are you looking
from.
to divide people, or are you looking to bring people together? And there is commonality, I think, that we all have at some point level. It's just finding that and how we can work together for the greater good, right?
Absolutely.
Love it. That's a good one. That's really good. All right, my second one, I would say, is tracking what's important. And this can go both professionally and personally. If something's important to you, you track it, right? Whether it's your personal finances, right? If you're feeling like I don't have enough money at the end of the month, you could track that and say, oh crap, I spent like $500 going out to eat this month versus going to the grocery store or whatever. It's funny. I have teenage kids right now that are trying to learn the value of money, and they're working part-time jobs, and they're like, well, where'd all my money go? Well, a $5 trip to Starbucks here, going here. I mean, it all adds up. So I say this, that on a professional level in your real estate business, what are you currently tracking and monitoring? Do you have things set up that track your activities? Like, you did X amount of this marketing campaign, or you did Y amount of this. A lot of this stuff can be tangible data that you can actually put together in a spreadsheet and truly monitor what's working. If you're spending $500 on marketing, don't you want to know the results? Or are you just going to, if you want to throw it to the wind, I'll gladly take it off your hands. But if you really want to see value in your money and your marketing, send it out there, track it to the best of your ability. It doesn't have to be perfect, and then go back to the target. If you found like, ooh, this one channel is doing well, maybe you're going to shift your resources that way. But if you track your activities, it's going to benefit you in overall results. And again, the other thing is it doesn't have to be, perfect day one. It's going to get better over time. And if you're not sure what to track, that's where you have to find those important people in your life again, right? Go back to them. What are you tracking? How are you tracking it? And if they are good human beings, as most people are, even in the real estate space, they're going to be happy to share, or at least give you some tips and techniques that can help you there. So, and I'll get into there's personal aspects of tracking what's important, and I'll save that for my third item. But that's one thing I've really taken to heart this year that I'm doing probably differently than I've ever done before.
That's so cool and so important. And you hear about split testing and all this kind of stuff from the big real estate investors, and absolutely. So I'm glad that you put that in place this year. How cool. I would say my second one is I have learned more this year than ever before. It is important to be ready to pivot. We just talked about change. People don't like change, but man, when you start seeing it happen in life, in business, in the economy, in the market, in the politics, in the atmosphere, you got to be ready to pivot. You got to be willing to cut bait. something might have been working really good, but then things change. There's a lockdown. You can't go out and physically network.
Right.
You have to figure out what else can you put into your business. And this year, I added marketing that I have never done before, so I feel like a newbie some days. Like, I'm testing all this stuff. We are tracking it, but we're testing new things. We're writing copy that we've never had to write before. We're sending, letters. We're making phone calls. There's different scripts, and just being ready and willing to pivot and say, oh my gosh, what I was doing, I can't do anymore.
Right.
So I can't cry about it. I can't sit and wait for it to be able to happen again. I gotta be ready to cut bait there. I gotta pivot. I gotta make a plan.
Yeah.
Don't just pivot in the wind, right? You gotta you gotta stop a second.
Sounds like a problem pivoting in the
pivoting
wind.
in the wind.
Don't do that too
often.
often.
It could be bad. You could get wet. Okay, we think we're hilarious. I hope you do too. But right? You got to be just ready to stop, drop, and roll, right? Okay, I'm making a plan, and now I'm here and I'm doing this, and then I love it, Dan, that you said tracking, right? You're tracking it, and then you're plan, do, review. I made the plan. I'm doing the plan. Now I'm reviewing the plan. Am I tracking? And I'm making sure that it's either working or that I need to pivot again.
Yeah.
And so this has been the year of the pivot for the Conkle family.
Right.
And just getting out there and doing what we need to do. So.
Well, the thing is, obviously, things have been super amplified this year. I think you used that word earlier. But with COVID, it's been a major thing that there'll be stories and books and things written about this year alone more than, it's history that we're a part of right now. But there's always going to be smaller things in your life that are going to probably cause you to pivot. So you have to be ready to make those changes, big or small.
Yep.
And the other thing I just share is that don't be afraid to try something new and don't be afraid to fail.
You can't be afraid to fail. You got to be expecting to fail. I mean, if you haven't failed, then how can you succeed?
Right.
Right? I mean, if that's all you do is succeed, then you're just not trying hard enough, or you're not doing something right, or you're leaving a lot on the table.
Yeah.
Because failure is just a part of success, unfortunately, and fortunately.
And really, even if you do fail, I'll tell you this, the failure is probably not nearly as bad as you think it's going to be, and you'll probably grow quite a bit, and you might even do something pretty cool when it's all said and done, or something comes of it that you didn't expect that's even better than what you envisioned. So don't be surprised.
Part of that failure sometimes is you spend a bunch of money trying something new, and it fails. Don't spend more money trying to make it succeed. Be willing to just cut the bait, sever the line, and throw a different line in the water, right?
Yeah.
Just use a different bait and go fishing for, in a different way. But
love it.
Don't cry about what you threw against it, because that's just part of pivoting, and that's part of that failure that should probably happen.
Absolutely. Well, my third and last item, things that I've learned, there's probably more, but I think it sums into these three things. And now that I look at it, ours is somewhat similar, Jackie, but I know you'll take it a different way. But for me, it's just, for what I learned from 2020, not 30.
30.
Well, that's a long time.
Dang, you're old, dude.
Yes, sir. Is just getting my personal house in order. Not that it was in, disrepair, but I think just becoming more serious about things like my personal health. I know this year alone, I've really taken inventory of just how I feel as just a human being, like waking up each morning, monitoring my intake, what foods am I putting in it. That's not to say I don't enjoy a good meal or have a good time with some people from time to time, but as a whole, what am I doing 80 to 90% of the time? The quality food I'm eating, what type of food I'm eating, the exercise I'm putting in front of myself, and really challenging myself. I'm doing things now in my daily routine that I would have never thought possible. And part of that came into play of just I was going to the gym periodically, and then with everything going on with COVID, it just didn't make sense for me to go to the gym anymore. So I'm like, well, I always told myself, if I don't go to the gym, I'm not going to work out. That was a self-limiting belief, Jackie.
It sure is.
And now I'm doing just insane workouts that I'm just busting my butt with just spending a few $100s and getting a few pieces of workout equipment. And I don't have an ideal workout space in my house, but I've maximized the space in my house that I use for that, and it works for me. So I could have used every excuse in the book to not work out, but I've changed my mindset, and I've seen myself become more fit. I have more energy. I feel good in just the things that I'm doing in my day, because I'm setting myself up for success each morning by working out well, having great energy that allows me to push through a lot of that stuff. But that's my own personal health. But then also it's just, what are my relationships? Really valuing my family. Wherever you're at, if you have kids or a spouse, whether it's new or old, you have to really take inventory. Where is that at? You know, if you're a newlywed, how can you make that even better? Or maybe you've been married for some time. How can you make that better? Or you're in a relationship. How do I take that to the next level? Or for me personally, I have 3 teenage kids in my life. And it's an interesting time. Anyone who's had teenagers, from, you know, kids needing you every moment, every waking thing, making decisions, to like, you have basically 3 mini adults in your home that want to make their own decisions. And how do you have that transition to have a great relationship with them, but still be mom and dad? And I've had just some really awesome breakthroughs with my kids this year, where I feel like our relationships have become stronger. And maybe it is because we've been more home together or whatever, but I've also been intentional about it.
Yeah.
Right? I've tried to go out of the norm of what I would normally do to make sure that I'm being involved in their lives. And it's been really cool to see some just neat things happening. So I just, and I'll say this is probably the most important piece of the puzzle. If your personal life is not in order, I don't care whatever goals you have for business, it's not going to be successful. So it's so important to know what your
and
life...
it's not going to matter.
100%, right? You could have $1 bazillion and be miserable. How many people do you see that in Hollywood today, right?
Right.
But that was important to me, and it really, 2020 allowed me to refocus on my personal home and making sure that those elements are going in the right direction. Trust me, I don't have it all figured out yet, but I feel like I'm trending in the right direction versus the other way. So
Yeah. You know, and my number 3 is a lot like yours, because a lot of this stuff we knew already, right?
Yeah.
We knew this about our lives. We knew this about our business, our world.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to say, oh, I've got all this time, right?
Yeah.
COVID has amplified the fact that we may or may not have
that's
as much
true.
time as we hope for.
Very true.
And yeah, we know we get hit by a bus tomorrow, right? We always know that. But this year has really shown us, you know, that a COVID could take us down, or, you know, we could be locked down. We could lose all of our liberties. I mean, we saw the government taking control of what we can and can't do, where we can and can't go, and how we need to go and do. And for me, it was like a tractor beam right straight in my face. And so it became, I mean, this was a year that I said, okay, fine. I said, I want to buy an RV and take a trip out west, you know, and I want to take my kids. It opened my eyes to go, holy cow, my kids are 14 and 9, now 10.
Yeah.
And so we went, and COVID hit, and we bought an RV, and we bought a Jeep, and then we took a month off, and we let our business tank, because that's not what matters. It doesn't matter how much money you die with in the bank.
Yeah.
It's all about what are the life experiences that you've had. And for me, it all of a sudden became, how many can I have this year? How fast can I make those happen?
Yeah.
You know, I've always wanted an in-ground pool, but there was always a reason not to do it. And a lot of it was like, oh, should I spend the money? What should I do? Screw it. We got an in-ground pool because we're not going to be able to go swimming at the public pool, you know? And it turned out that, you know, maybe we might have been able to, but we don't have one locally. So we're not residents of any of those places that have them. So it just, that year that we just said, you know what? Just do it, right? The old Nike slogan came to mind, but it was more about we might live forever, but we might not. You know, I'm going to tell you that it was also done financially responsibly. I didn't go into debt. I didn't do a bunch of crazy things, but it's because I've been making these plans over the years. But it's funny, you save up for stuff, and then it's earmarked for that, and it's sitting there, but you still just are like, maybe I should just buff it a little bit more, you know, like put a little bit more padding on it. But we threw caution to the wind and said, no, let's just do it. So we got the RV, we got the Jeep. And the funnier part is, after taking that month's trip, we were like, ooh, now we want to do this, you know? And so we sold those, and we bought more fun toys, and now we're going and doing that. But it's all about, you know, again, we didn't go into debt doing any of this, but... and I do think that's important. So I'm not trying to say, Dan, I'm not trying to say, guys, just go and like dig yourself a hole, because then you'll be miserable for the rest of your life.
Short-term goals.
Yeah, it's really about figuring out the vision for your life and then figuring out the timetable. And I felt like I was expanding my timetable, and the time is now. And so you guys are going to start seeing more and more of this in the Appleton REIA as well, as we amplify the life and air part. Many of you who have attended our meetings, you do know that we say all the time, Appleton REIA is a life and air REIA. A lifeonaire is somebody who's full of life and life experiences, as you would think a millionaire is someone who's full of money. So many lifeonaires are millionaires, but most millionaires are not lifeonaires. They're working hard. They're spending too much time. They're stressed out. They're frustrated. They're broke. They're divorced. They're whatever. They're broke mentally. And so we are amplifying the lifeonaire side of our REIA over 2021. Wait till you see all these announcements. It's going to be amazing. The journey that you will be able to be a part of. And so I guess I just want to leave you with that some of these things we definitely want to help you guys implement a little bit more in your lives and take you along for the ride and the journey here.
Well, I know that we can both speak to that personally, of us taking just a true account of living life in our terms is maybe another way of phrasing life in air. We put a plan together of how we want our life to be, and we built our life around our business. And both Jackie and I can attest.
No, built our business around our life.
Thank you. Yes.
Built a business that serves our life versus the other way around. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I misspoke, and that's why
that's
you're here to help me
meant.
out. Yes. The intent was there. The lips did not follow. All I'm saying is it's so integral to being successful in just overall life of having that element first. Yeah. So it'll be very exciting to hear about that. And, of course, to know what's going on, AppletonREIA.com is the website. If you haven't already, obviously with COVID, it's been tough to meet in person. We're doing a lot of virtual stuff through there. But the cool thing is, while being a member, you still get all the great benefits through the national vendors, the local vendors. They're still there as well. But if you go there, sign up, you'll be notified when there's any local meetings, meetups, virtual meetups, stuff like that. And from what Jackie's saying, there's just a gob of great stuff coming down the pipe that will benefit you on all aspects of life. So make sure you check that out. But if you haven't already, you've learned what we've taken away from 2020. Do your own inventory. It will serve you immensely, and then you can use that to push yourself towards whatever you want to achieve coming into next year. So I know we've taken up a lot of your time. Hopefully it's been fruitful, guys. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Appleton REIA podcast. I'm Dan. She's Jackie. Have yourself a good one.
See ya.